Hi there, I'm Len Devana, and I manage EMC's social engagement team. I'd like to take a few minutes of your time today to walk you through an example of a successful social engagement campaign. The example we'll review is one that you're probably familiar with, as it was a supporting social strategy behind EMC's mega launch in early 2011. As you'll see, this campaign touched a variety of social channels, leveraging the strengths of each to deliver meaningful results. But before jumping in, I'll share a little bit of context. It's worth noting that this campaign actually won first place in the category of most impactful business-to-business engagement campaign, thanks to our friends over at B2B Online. So the point of sharing that with you is, in fact, this has got EMC a little bit of credit in the industry and is a worthy example. So if you think back, you may recall that our mega launch was a significant event and arguably the industry's largest and perhaps most complex product launch ever. We had a few key objectives when designing this campaign, and it's worth a quick reminder that like any other campaign, it's always best to start with objectives and success measures that'll help keep you on track and steer the different moving pieces. In this particular example, we wanted to generate a considerable industry buzz and speculation leading up to the event, with heavy focus on targeting industry influencers. We also wanted to use social to drive registration for the physical and virtual events. So let's stop now and take a look at the different components that we used, and I'll reference the slide just above as we go through. Interestingly enough, the social campaign started with a direct mail piece of all things. We targeted two audiences. The first, we went after leading industry influencers and bloggers in the storage, virtualization, and backup space. We used our listening tool called Intensity to identify who the most influential bloggers and voices were in the social web. In addition to these folks, we also went after several hundred EMC customers who, based on their buying behavior, were likely to have a keen interest in the products and solutions we were launching. So with a list in hand of about 1,000 people, including customers and influencers, we proceeded to send them all a direct mail piece that you may have seen. It was a box marked Important, Records Enclosed, and when opened up, there was a somewhat mysterious broken record, a puzzle, if you will. And when assembled, the record didn't offer much more than a tease. Once assembled, it basically read, "Don't miss the record-breaking event. Join EMC on such and such a date as we shatter records." So that was the call to action, suggesting that the recipient visit a URL, emcbreaksrecords.com, and once they went to that site, they were encouraged to register for the event. So this is the start of the campaign, and indeed it triggered considerable buzz and speculation. As I'd suggested, many of the recipients were bloggers, and when you get a strange package like this in the mail, most of them did exactly what we'd hoped they'd do. They took pictures of the strange thing they've received from EMC, and they shared it out via their blogs, often speculating as to exactly what EMC might be up to. And as you'd suspect, this helped us get much more reach than we otherwise would have, because we effectively leveraged external bloggers to tap into their own networks and help us spread our word. The takeaway from this particular piece, influencing influencers is a very successful tactic. At the end of the day, people like to speculate, so enable them to do it on your behalf. Moving down, let's turn to Facebook. Some weeks before the event, we launched a digital version of the record-breaking puzzle on our EMC Corporation main Facebook page. And then in the interest of the program's theme, we encouraged our Facebook audience to break their own records by solving this puzzle faster than anyone else could. The puzzle offered a scoreboard for the top 10 fastest times, and users were encouraged to share their best time through their Twitter and their Facebook networks. In fact, we automated it so much that a visitor would simply click a button and have a tweet sent out to their network from their account saying, "Hey, I solved the EMC challenge in 10 seconds. Can you beat my time?" And of course, that tweet would provide a link back into the puzzle. Of course, once the puzzle was solved, the user was then encouraged to sign up for the big record-breaking event in New York, and they were provided a link to the registration page. In 2 short weeks, we grew our fan count by about 6,000 new members, and that particular puzzle game on Facebook received over 80,000 visits. The takeaway here is that people like to be engaged. We're all humans. We like to compete, and frankly, we like to brag within our network sometimes. And there's an opportunity for us to leverage that, as we did in this example, to let people have some fun, but at the same time go out there and share with their friends and bring their networks back in to have some fun along with them. Let's move on to the third box here, and that's YouTube. We launched a series of teaser videos around the launch. Each was designed to be very engaging with hopes of going viral. These humorous videos teased a bit of what was coming. But just before the reveal, just before the big event was revealed, the video cut short and suggested that in order to see records get broken, you'd have to tune into our record-breaking event. And once again, we provided a link back to that event registration site. Pretty impressive numbers here. The video series on YouTube received over 700,000 views, and that was enough traffic to rank EMC for the duration of the program as the 63rd most popular channel in the Gurus category on YouTube. So the takeaway here, rich media is still an extremely effective way to deliver your message, and of course YouTube provides a brilliantly simple vehicle to do just that. Moving on to Twitter, we did something a little different. From our main EMC corporate Twitter account, we started a series of daily tweets about a month or so before the physical event. Remember that we're still in the mode right now of trying to drive speculation. We're not trying to deliver specifics. So each of these tweets were very, very much vague, and they provided an existing world record along the lines of who holds the record for the fastest land speed run, or something like that. And of course, such a tweet coming from EMC on Twitter, it was sure to, and indeed did, raise a bit of curiosity. But what was interesting is when a question like that, when it was phrased in the form of a question, our Twitter community wanted to engage. They wanted to guess on the answers. And this proved to be a very engaging tactic because what happened is our community, we have 10, 12,000 followers on Twitter. They'd see a question get posted, and they'd all speculate. They'd all answer. I think the land speed record is held by so-and-so. In the process, they'd share that conversation throughout their network, ultimately bringing more and more people in. Throughout this entire program, we embraced a hashtag strategy on Twitter of EMC Breaks Records, and thanks to all of the traffic we generated through the tactic I just shared with you, as well as the coverage during the event itself, this tag went trending on Twitter across the United States. It was actually the first time in the company's history we've had that level of impact. So the takeaway here, despite its limit of 140 characters, Twitter is indeed an effective way to engage a very large audience and pull them into a larger discussion. Moving on, our own EMC community network often gets overlooked for engagement campaigns. If you haven't been there, you should stop by. It's community.emc.com. But we didn't make that mistake for Mega Launch. In fact, we brought the ECN to the very heart of this program. We actually streamed a live broadcast of the product launch in New York out to 250,000 or so members on the ECN. But we tried something new beyond just a push of the video feed. We tried something designed to really enable virtual attendees to have the same experience, or as close to the same experience as someone who was attending in person in New York. Specifically, we enabled a live question and answer capability on the ECN to hundreds of active participants. Whereas these folks would normally just be able to consume a video feed, they're suddenly able to ask questions and engage with us and talk about the different products, engage with subject matter experts, and even set up subsequent sales calls based on the excitement that the launch generated. As you can see from the graphic, we had over 200 participants join a live questions and answer session on the ECN, with over 40% being first-time visitors to our community. So big takeaway here, don't miss out on the EMC's community network in your marketing plans. There's a topical space for virtually every EMC product and solution out there, so you should be using it to engage your audience. And secondly, as I've described, there are ways to take what would otherwise be a purely physical event and extend the reach well beyond the walls into the digital realm. And ECN can be a pretty important part in such a plan. And of course, then there's the bloggers, both EMC bloggers and non-EMC bloggers. For the EMC voices, we pulled these folks into the program early and often. We really wanted them to intimately understand what we were trying to accomplish, such that they could help promote the videos, the puzzles, and the other elements of the program through their blogs. Outside of EMC, we had several influential bloggers pick up on the different tease aspects of the campaign, and ultimately use their blogs or their Twitter accounts or Facebook, what have you, to speculate. What's EMC up to? And in the process, they help take our message and engagement tactics far, far beyond themselves, but actually out extending to their own audiences, people who we'd otherwise never be able to reach. Big takeaway, influencing influencers is a sound strategy, and certainly leveraging the power of our EMC bloggers is equally as powerful. So that's a quick overview of the campaign itself. You may ask, what were the results? Well, we're happy to report that well over 30% of the physical attendees who registered and showed up for the event in New York actually did so through social channels. But beyond an impressive number unto itself, beyond the physical results, we were able to extend the launch via the digital realm to tens, if not hundreds of thousands of more people. As you can see, we use many of the primary social channels, but we intentionally leverage each one for their own strengths. But perhaps the most important takeaway here, everything we did was designed to engage the audience in a creative and meaningful way. We didn't talk at them, we tried to engage them with questions, with puzzles, with interesting things, with speculation, and it in the end proved extremely effective for us. So I hope this has been a helpful overview of one social engagement campaign, one that's been very successful for us here at EMC. But I'd be curious if you have examples of other campaigns you've seen us do or other companies do, but even in the business to consumer side. Share them in the comment sections below. This is really important stuff, and it's important that we all get good at it. So let's start the conversation.